When people think about the future, they often imagine it as something distant, abstract, and unpredictable. They picture success or failure as the result of luck, intelligence, or dramatic decisions made at critical moments. From a psychiatric perspective, however, this way of thinking is deeply misleading. The human mind does not change in leaps. It changes in patterns. And patterns are not formed by rare moments of inspiration, but by a single choice repeated quietly over time. In clinical practice, one pattern appears again and again. People do not struggle because they are incapable. They struggle because their behavior is being governed by emotional states rather than by conscious identity. Their days are dictated by how they feel in the moment, tired, anxious, bored, overwhelmed. Over time, this emotional governance shapes habits, habits shape personality, and personality shapes destiny. The most important choice you will make, the one that determines the next 5 years, is whether you will allow your internal states to control your actions, or whether you will decide who you are and let that identity guide your behavior regardless of mood. This may not sound dramatic, but psychologically, it is the dividing line between stagnation and transformation. The human brain evolved to prioritize survival, not fulfillment. Emotions such as fear, discomfort, and avoidance are not flaws in the system, they are protective mechanisms. The problem arises when these mechanisms are allowed to dominate modern life. When discomfort becomes a signal to stop rather than a signal to adapt, progress quietly dies. Many people believe they lack discipline. Clinically, this is rarely true. What they lack is identity alignment. The brain resists actions that conflict with how a person sees themselves. If someone unconsciously identifies as inconsistent, overwhelmed, or not the type who follows through, the nervous system will create resistance whenever they attempt sustained effort. Procrastination, distraction, and fatigue are not signs of laziness, they are signs of internal conflict. From this perspective, the future is not built by willpower. Willpower is metabolically expensive and psychologically unstable. It fluctuates with stress, sleep, nutrition, and emotional load. Identity, on the other hand, is efficient. When behavior aligns with identity, the brain experiences coherence. Less energy is wasted on internal negotiation. This is why the critical choice is not, what do I want, but, who am I deciding to be? When someone makes a clear identity decision, such as, I am a person who honors commitments, or, I am someone who does not negotiate with avoidance, their behavior begins to reorganize naturally. They still experience discomfort, but the discomfort no longer controls their actions. Emotions become information, not instructions. In psychiatric terms, this shift restores agency. A sense of agency is one of the strongest predictors of long-term mental stability. Anxiety thrives in uncertainty and passivity. Depression deepens when effort feels meaningless. But when actions are guided by a chosen identity, the mind regains a sense of direction, even during difficulty. The next 5 years will not be shaped by your intentions. Intentions exist in the abstract. They are easy to form and easy to abandon. The future is shaped by what you do on ordinary days, especially when motivation is absent. And motivation is absent far more often than people expect. Most individuals wait to feel ready before acting. They wait for clarity, confidence, or inspiration. Neurologically, this is backwards. Action precedes motivation more often than motivation precedes action. When the brain observes consistent behavior, it updates its self-concept. Confidence is not something you summon, it is something you earn through repeated evidence. From a psychiatric standpoint, this is how identity is constructed, through behavioral proof. Every time you act in alignment with a chosen identity, the brain records it. Over time, this evidence reshapes neural pathways. What once required effort begins to feel natural. What once felt impossible becomes familiar. This is why small, consistent actions matter more than dramatic changes. The brain trusts repetition, not intensity. 5 years of modest, identity-aligned behavior will outperform 5 weeks of extreme effort followed by collapse. The key choice, then, is whether you will continue to identify with your emotional fluctuations or whether you will anchor your behavior to a stable internal standard. People who allow emotions to lead their behavior often feel trapped. Their productivity rises and falls with mood. Their goals feel fragile. Their self-esteem becomes conditional. Over time, this creates a sense of helplessness, a belief that life is happening to them rather than being shaped by them. In contrast, people who choose identity over emotion experience a different psychological trajectory. They are not immune to stress, fear, or doubt. But these states no longer dictate their actions. They experience discomfort without interpreting it as danger. This distinction is critical. Discomfort is not a signal to stop, it is a signal that growth is occurring. Clinically, this is where resilience is formed. Resilience is not toughness. It is not emotional suppression. It is the capacity to act in accordance with values even when the nervous system is activated. This capacity determines whether a person progresses or stagnates over time. The next 5 years will reflect the system you choose to live by. Either you will live by a system of emotional negotiation, doing things when you feel like it, stopping when it becomes uncomfortable, or you will live by a system of identity-based action, doing what aligns with who you have decided to become. This choice affects everything: career trajectory, physical health, relationships, and mental well-being. It determines whether stress compounds or strengthens you. Whether challenges erode your confidence or refine it. Importantly, this is not about perfection. The brain does not require flawless behavior to change. It requires consistency. Missed days do not matter as much as abandoned identities. The danger is not failure, it is returning to unconscious patterns without awareness. From a psychiatric lens, awareness itself is therapeutic. When you recognize that avoidance is not a personal flaw but a neurological response, you regain control. You stop personalizing resistance and start managing it. You move from self-judgment to self-regulation. 5 years from now, you will live inside the consequences of the systems you practice today. Your habits will shape your attention. Your attention will shape your perception. Your perception will shape your reality. The most powerful intervention is not external. It is the decision to stop asking, "How do I feel?" before every action, and to start asking, "What does the person I am becoming do in this situation?" This single shift reorganizes the mind. It reduces internal chaos. It builds trust between intention and action. Over time, it creates a quiet confidence, not the loud confidence of bravado, but the stable confidence of self-consistency. Ultimately, the next 5 years are not determined by circumstances. Circumstances influence, but they do not decide. The deciding factor is whether you will remain emotionally driven or become identity-driven. That choice is available every day. Not in moments of inspiration, but in moments of resistance. Not when it feels easy, but when it feels inconvenient. And the mind will always move in the direction of the standard you consistently uphold. Choose wisely.